We are live. So go to the Smoking and Toasting Facebook page and share that bad boy.
There we are. Alright.
And then you have to mute your phone, so.
And I'm going to set up the Facebook Live over here so I can watch myself watching myself.
That's good. You should do that. Doesn't that create one of those infinite loops?
As long as I don't run into myself, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I think that's right. Matter and antimatter can't exist at the same time in the same universe. I'm a little embarrassed that I just said that. All right. Ian, you ready, brother?
Hold on, I'm versus the internet right now. I'm having issues. But the answer is yeah, pretty much. But now I'm trying to share this and I can't find it again. Ah, there it is. And share. My phone cut off for some reason a minute ago.
All right, so even though you are smoking one live, and by the way, I can hear everything you're setting down on tables and stuff really loud. Just so you know that.
Well, I'll make sure I'm loud about that.
Yes, exactly. By the way, just even though you will be smoking live, I will be reporting on something I smoked already, so you can ask me if you like.
Let me grab my information here.
All right.
I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's rock it.
You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Here we go.
Well. Welcome, my friends.
That sound makes me happy.
Yes, it does. You look happy, my friend. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program. It is Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 92. This is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And this is show number 92, which I think I mentioned. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Thanks, by the way, to B&B's Jeremiah Butler, who was our special guest last week, who is always...
That bacon was so good.
So much fun to have on. Oh, my God. The bacon. I'm still tasting the bacon. So we're doing this for the first time that we've ever tried this on the show, but so far so good. Ian, my erstwhile partner on Smoking and Toasting, is several states away from us. He is in Florida, and he... He is looking way more comfortable than I'm looking, and that's just wrong. That's wrong on so many levels.
Well, you guys look pretty comfortable in the studio with your headphones on
and lots
and your
of
four walls around you.
Yeah, and lots of bottles of goodies between us.
Yeah, okay, so I'm a little jealous there.
Yeah, well, you're getting to have a cigar during the show, so I'm jealous of you as well.
He's smoking in Florida. We're toasting here in Houston at 100 degrees.
That's right. So
There's the way to look at it.
Ian, say hello to Greg Duxakis. Greg is from Maison Ferrand.
How are you? Sorry I'm not there with you, but I'm actually not that sorry that I'm...
Sorry, not sorry.
Yes, yeah. So Maison Ferrand, did I say it correctly?
Maison Ferrand, yes, sir.
Maison Ferrand is a spirits company that distributes spirits from a number of different spirit makers. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, so correct.
We produce everything.
So everything you make is your own lineup of brands.
We're a spirits producer.
Okay, so I have to say, just before we start, and Ian will back me up on this, you guys make one of my absolute all-time go-to, never without it, spirits, and that is the Plantation Pineapple Rum.
I'll forget about it.
My wife and I we are never without a bottle of that at home. If we are, something has gone
terribly wrong. You turned me on to that a long time ago, and my wife keeps a bottle of it on the shelf at all times.
It was on one of the first 10 episodes of the show, I think. I brought a bottle of it in, and it was something we ran into almost by accident. A bartender, I think, Asked my wife if she'd tried it when she was at a party or something at a bar, and poured it. And we've always loved rum anyway. And I was like, she's like, oh, it's plantation rum. I'm like, oh, plantation's great, but I don't know about pineapple. She goes, no, buy a bottle. So we bought a bottle, and learned that it wasn't one of those sort of sweet infused kind of spirits, but it was one.
It's not a flavored rum. It's
right.
A
It's
true
not
distillate.
exactly, and so it's just absolutely wonderful. Are you clinking around glasses over there, Ian? Is that what that is?
It's a secret.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Well,
I figure at some point in time, you guys will be talking about something delicious that you were tasting.
Yes.
And I wanted to prepare to talk about something delicious that I'm tasting.
Okay, I think that will work. And now
I'm doing research here is what's actually going on.
Yes, and it's important to do research because, as we all know, spirits can taste different depending on where you are.
It takes dedication to do research like this.
Yes, and I think it's important to point out how dedicated you are, and you're that kind of a guy. Ian, you are getting to enjoy a cigar as we open the show here. So tell us about what you're smoking today. First of all, where are you before you explain your cigar? Because that's part of it, right?
I'm in St. Petersburg.
Okay.
Now I have some friends that moved here last year and got a house, and they got a great place. So you can see if I move a little bit this way, I think, or this way, you can see the pool in the background.
Yep.
You get this great little backyard. The weather is beautiful. It's like 90 degrees with a little breeze. You probably hear it going by the speakers a little bit. Yesterday, we woke up in the morning and went down to Ybor City, which is like the cigar capital.
Yes.
And wandered up and down the street, and let me tell you how much fun that is.
Yeah.
It is a blast. And you can walk into all these little cigar shops. Now, I posted some videos yesterday, one of them of a lady doing some cigar rolling right there on the spot. I just walked in, and they have signs everywhere encouraging you, take pictures, use your cameras, like they want you to see this. That's where I got this cigar from, and it's actually from the Tabanero Cigars.
Okay. Tampa's Tabanero Cigars. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And they had a selection of cigars up there, so I picked one out.
And there it is, just like
and
the
I'm
logo on
trying
the
it
page.
now. This is a very traditional cigar-flavored cigar at the moment. I love saying that, by the way.
A cigar-flavored cigar?
As non-specific as that is, it also tells you a lot about the taste of the cigar.
No, that's right. That's
Weirdly enough. But this has a great, cedar and wood dryness to it on the finish that is fantastic and goes well with the beverages.
Now, my understanding is that Greg has maybe shifted what he might normally bring on a show like this and tried to bring in things that he understands that cigar lovers like to pair. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. We got the full range of spirits here, but as I was leaving the house today, I thought to myself, what is it, the ones that we usually take to cigar events or that my cigar smoking friends enjoy the most, and that's what I tried to grab up.
Okay, so this is going to be really interesting. I see a number of rums. I see some cognac here, and I see this gin as well. Now, the Citadel gin, do you find people pairing gin with cigars quite a bit now?
Not that one. I brought that one for a reference point, but
Okay.
we have a limited release Old Tom gin that has been a real hit. In fact, they're calling it just the Sippers gin. It's a little on the sweet side, and it's been aged in 6 different kinds of barrels. But it's a nice little lovely pairing with cigars.
Well, that'll be fun.
That seems to be a little bit of a trend right now with aging gin, which I don't think you'd see that very often. 5-10 years ago, even
200 years ago, you would have seen it a lot.
Really?
They had to store it in something.
Gin has gone through its ups and downs in popularity.
Well,
but I think it's coming back up.
200 years ago, they did it out of necessity. Now it's a style of gin, if you will. And for the record, we were one of the first on the scene in the modern aging.
The modern gin era, yeah.
Well, in the modern age gin era. Not with this one, but we have a reserve, which is basically the exact same Citadel as gin as the Citadel, with a few extra botanicals, and we're using 6 different kinds of barrels to age it, and we have like a 10-foot wooden egg that we blended in.
Wow, a 10-foot wooden egg.
10-foot wooden egg.
And what's the purpose of the egg? Is does the shape add something special to the blending, or is it just a kind of cool thing to do, or?
Sorry, I just for a moment there, my brain shut down because here comes the science.
Yeah.
It's actually something that the Japanese started doing with their whiskeys. The Japanese make very good whiskeys.
Yes.
And there's a blending style. It's a Solera vat. It's made of wood, and we had the Terran Sod cooperage in Cognac build us an egg. It's a wooden egg made from French oak. There's no char on the inside, so it's not actually aging anything. It's just where we're going to put the aged product in to blend and to marry and get to know each other. And I'm going to, oh God, I know there's someone in France that's going to say, no, you're getting this wrong. But it's something about the Earth's gravitational pull. It works with the egg just to help the spirit blend a little bit better.
No kidding, really. You're right, it is science.
So it's not suspended in there. You just let it sit in there, and it does its thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm gonna try and pull up a picture of it.
That is really interesting. Do you think gin is on the? I would say, based on my observation, that gin is one of the spirits that's really on the rise right now. Would you agree
gaining
with that?
popularity?
Absolutely. Yeah. We see so many cool things. We're seeing local gins. We're seeing gins produced in countries that don't normally produce gin. Of course, you have your classic London Dries and some modern twist on London Dries.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're seeing a lot of cool things out there. And what we're very proud about with Citadel is even though it's made in France, it's still a classic dry. This is not what we call a Western gin.
Right.
Where Western gin is typically a little light on the juniper. This is going to be a very juniper-forward spirit, but not juniper-dominant. We make it in the exact same stills we make in our cognac in France. And there's 19 botanicals, but of those 19 botanicals, 90% of the flavor influence is going to be juniper. The other 18 botanicals are like backup singers. Think of it as like Beyonce, and she's got backup singers and dancers behind her. People are still there to see Beyonce, but the backup singers make it the show all the more better. That's
Juniper is Gladys Knight, and the others are the Pips.
Yeah, right.
and complexity to it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely there, but it's not super dominant like some of your classic gins where a lot of people just don't like that pine tree type thing.
Right.
But there's definitely a juniper forward gin.
Well, I think we'll start next segment when we start the tasting. We'll open with gin because we very seldom do that on the show. In fact, we really don't taste enough gin on the show. So this is going to be a treat, and maybe we'll start with your standard and then try the age. So that should be fun. Yeah, Ian, tell me just a little bit before we wrap the first segment about the cigar you're a little ways into now.
So this cigar, and now that I am about 3/4 of an inch to an inch into it, is developing flavor. It's got very toast, it's got a dryness to it that I'm really enjoying. It's a very almost campfire kind of dryness to it. Very what you'd expect from a classic Cuban style cigar. And it's burning perfectly here. The wrapper is beautiful and gorgeous. Not very oily. It's fantastic so far.
Were you worried at all that it would be more of a, when you go into a shop like that and you're not dealing with one of the big, international brand names, were you worried a little bit about it being more of a quote-unquote house brand and not being as high a quality a cigar, or could you tell, even making the purchase, that it was going to be good?
So my initial response, and I hate to admit this, is when you look at them and they look not like the big house brands overall. Mm-hmm. Now, a couple places I walked into, they didn't even have bands on their cigars. They didn't bother with them.
Wow.
And you have to get over that initial lack of labeling shock, because the problem is it looks like your bargain bin cigars at that point. But this is smoking like a primo cigar right here. Now, this is a mild to medium cigar, and I just decided to try something. I've got a couple here. If I get through this in the show, I've got another one. But yeah, there was a little bit of that because it looks a little, less production.
Right.
So, but this is, it looks great, feels great.
What about price? Was it expensive, inexpensive?
This was a $6 cigar.
All right, so about what a $6 cigar should be like. Yeah.
And so far, this is far beyond a $6 cigar.
Well, good.
We'll see how it develops as we go along.
So I wanted to give a quick shout-out, by the way, to someone who apparently all of us know here, and that's our buddy Chris Hart, who has been on the show a number of times and is
love that guy.
Most likely watching today. You were on your way to Florida yesterday, or already in Florida, actually, drinking and smoking, and I was on Chris's show. He does his own show called Whiskey Neat, and it's available at whiskeyneat.com and in the suite of podcasts and other goodies at culturemap.com.
I've been on that show, and I just want to say for the record how impressed I am with the setup here. I'm not like those bums over at Whiskey Neat. I mean, welcome to Amateurville, population Christopher Hart, right? No, I'm kidding. No, Chris is great. We're kidding. He's
no.
Well,
Chris was kind enough to have me on the show, even though you were unavailable yesterday, Ian. And by the way, apparently I didn't screw up too bad because we're both invited back when you
that's
you
good.
returned.
That's good.
So yeah. But no, we had fun. We tasted some rum and some whiskey, and he even brought a couple of beers just because I was on the show, and he knows that I'm a fan of craft beer. But then after the show, we went out over to Stogie's, a place for cigars, and for a couple hours sat and talked and hung out with some of his friends, and he gave me an EP Carrillo, Perez Carrillo, La Historia, Dona, Elena. There's a lot of names in there. This is the one, the EP Carrillo, that has the little sort of baby blue band around the foot. You know the one I'm talking about? And
I do.
He was kind enough to give it to me, and I was kind enough to smoke it. And it was a pretty good experience. I have to say, I had smoked one of these a while ago, and I don't remember a whole lot about it. Like, I don't remember not liking it, but I don't remember thinking, oh, wow, and being blown away. So it was really cool to be able to smoke this one nice and slow, and I did. And, in fact, it did really blow me away. It was a San Andreas Maduro wrapper, an Ecuadorian Sumatra binder, Nicaraguan fillers, so it's kind of put together from all over the place. It was medium to full. Pre-light was leather and soft tobacco. First half an inch or so, though, was not really all that remarkable, and so I was thinking, okay, maybe it just didn't wow me. And then, boy, about a half inch in, here came the flavor. Nice Maduro sweetness, some notes of cedar and dark ripe cherries, also some chocolate and dark coffee flavors, along with a hint of leather. It was a very rich and fairly mellow smoke, if that's possible for a medium to full, for it to be mellow and kind of medium full at the same time. It's about
being full flavored and smooth is a nice balance to have, isn't it? It's about
a $10 cigar. I'd say price to quality at least a 5.5. I'd have been willing to pay a buck or two more for that. So I would say at least a 5.5. Greg, the way our sort of price to quality index works is that on a scale of 1 to 10, a 5 means you're getting exactly what you paid for. So if it's a $10 cigar and you're like, it's worth exactly $10, and in your opinion, you'd give it a 5. If you give it more than a 5, it means, it smoked like an even more impressive cigar. One of the biggest ratings that Ian's ever given on price to quality scale was actually to a Black and Mild. But he gave it a high rating simply because he enjoyed it a lot more than the 49 cents that it cost.
And what beer were you on when you gave that rating?
I don't remember exactly, but what was funny is Chris Hart was sitting right where you were and was cracking up at this review that I had.
He was actually rooting for it to get a 10.
In my defense of the Black and Mild, knowing that it's a cheap cigar and going into it, I enjoyed it immensely. I was sitting with friends. We might have been playing categories or something like that. There's no telling, but I enjoyed it immensely, hanging out with friends and having cigars and drinks. We had a blast.
Well,
so that added to it. Plus, it's hard when it's not bad at 49 cents or whatever it is. It's hard to rate that low.
Yeah, you're right. It would have to be pretty bad to get less than a 5 at 49 cents.
Right.
All right, it's Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 92. The title of today's show is People Who Drink Are More Reliable. I have some proof to back that statement up coming up later in the show. Plus,
I love that.
Plus, are you ready for spirits that have been infused with secretions from beavers? I'll tell you all about it coming up on Smoking and Toasting. Stand by. I love the look on your face, Ian.
I'm a little speechless by that. And it's funny because I read over the show notes and I saw it, and I was speechless then too.
Yes, well, it's probably best to remain speechless. So.
I saw one of the HBS guys tag it on Facebook. I didn't read the whole article, but I was like, wow.
Oh, that's good. So,
I do realize that next time I do this, I'll have to get a set of headphones to put on.
Yeah.
In this beautiful surrounding.
Yeah. or maybe earbuds would work, or just But yeah, it would be.
I might have a set of earbuds.
It would be funny to see you sitting there with the headphones on, with that gorgeous greenery around you there.
That would be pretty funny.
All right. So we'll jump into a little gin in segment 2, and you can continue to report on what you've got there, Ian. Plus, we'll be trying a very interesting beer. It's the Kirsch Gose, Ian.
I've heard about this.
The cherry
Kirsch Gose.
the sour cherry beer from Victory Brewing.
That sounds awesome.
So we'll be sampling that baby. But we'll open with the gin. So, all right, I'm ready when you are for segment 2. Yeah, it's fine. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Smoking and Toasting, our second segment of show number 92. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Shout out to Jeremiah. We will be headed to Fort Worth soon. We're working out the details on that now for doing a live show.
I was there last month.
That location, at the Fort Worth location?
Beautiful store.
How is it? Because I love the Houston location, but haven't been up there yet.
It's different. It's a little bit more Dallas, if you will.
Yeah,
That
makes sense.
It's a more of a modern, we see those shopping center, not shopping centers, but like the areas that have a lot of cool shopping, a lot of cool restaurants.
Like
and
a
that sort of
little,
thing.
yeah.
It's more like that, but very, very upscale, very cool. Whereas this one here is more brick and mortar butcher. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And Jeremiah, by the way, is a very good friend of mine also.
He's one of our favorite guests, and he is a beautiful man, is he not?
Yes.
He's a beautiful man. I can say that. All right, let's just
He's a lot of fun. It's like a party every time he's on the show.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Let's just get this out of the way. Castorium. Can you say that, Ian? Castorium?
Astoria?
Castorium. Castorium.
Castorium.
Castorium. It's a strong-smelling secretion that comes from the castor sacs found near the base of a beaver's tail. It is FDA approved as a food additive, and now you can buy whiskey that has been infused with castorium.
All right, I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. First off, who figured out that that's a food additive?
Who was the person that said, "Hey, beaver butt sweat, let's try it"?
It's kind of like the people.
He knows exactly what I'm thinking.
Well, it's kind of like the people that get high from licking the back of a frog. Like, how many other animals did they lick that didn't work before they got to the frog?
Let's try a turtle. Nothing.
Like
Let's try a frog.
Fails real for that one.
Yeah, I tried the mongoose. No luck.
Nothing. Feel anything? Nothing.
No luck. The knowledge comes courtesy of a piece from Mike Pomerantz from Food and Wine. He spotlights a nice little beaver musk whiskey. You can't make this stuff up. From Tamworth Distilling of New Hampshire. Now, Castorium is an FDA-approved food additive. That's actually how this spirit came about. His team there was looking to develop a new spirit, and in hopes of securing a speedy all-clear from the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, they went straight to the FDA's list of ingredients that had been approved and were already considered safe, and Castorium caught their attention. So the head distiller said in a statement, he said, there was a time when it was ubiquitous and used widely as a flavoring agent and in perfume. I was curious what it would taste like in one of our unreleased bourbons, so we tried it, and it worked beautifully. So let's address the questions that you most obviously have. For that, I have gone to Snopes.com, which is a good place to disperse any untrue rumors that may exist surrounding this. According to Snopes, getting a beaver to produce castorium for purposes of food processing is not easy. Foodies who are bent on acquiring some of this sticky stuff, their words not mine, have to anesthetize the animal and then milk its nether regions.
We gotta play some Barry White, get it in the mood.
Apparently, it is also used in perfume thanks to an aroma that is musky with notes of vanilla. But again, I'll just go back to your question, which is the best one of the day. Like who
went first?
Who went first? How did it happen?
Musky with notes of vanilla. You know, you can get notes of vanilla from vanilla.
From vanilla,
and there's no anesthetizing or milking of nether regions involved. So, yeah. So I'm glad we got that out of the way. And I'm glad we're now moving to gin, which includes
milking of nether regions.
Right.
Yeah, which includes no castoreum.
That's going to make one hell of a hashtag right there.
So Greg, are we going to start with your Citadel? Is that the first?
You can if you want, but have you had it before?
I've had it before. I think it's delicious, by the way. Ian, I know your wife's a big fan of the Citadel, isn't she?
Yes. So my tasting notes on that are it makes a great martini. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it has that juniper flavor, but a little more depth of character to it, which is really interesting. But it's not a big, super juniper-y kind of flavor, but it does have a nice floral scent and profile to it. It makes a nice, dirty martini.
Yeah.
My wife has been trying to kick that bottle's butt for a while.
My favorite way is with just a Gibson, the martini with just a little bit of the dry vermouth and a nice little cocktail onion, and I'm a happy man.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. So do you want to jump then to the Old Tom?
Yeah. Let's jump there.
So tell me what's special? I love on the front it says "No Mistake, Old Tom Gin." What does that mean, and why is this? What's done to this that makes it special?
Well, it's way sweeter than your typical Old Tom, and that was on purpose. There was no mistake. We wanted to do something different, and Old Tom vary in flavor and flavor profile. But typical Old Tom is going to be aged just slightly with a little bit of a sugar note, but typically a white sugar note. Not bad, but and you wouldn't call it forward sweet, but it's definitely there. So, but we wanted to do something different, and by the way, it is a limited product. We only got it. They made it one time. It is available in Texas right now, but once it's gone, it's gone.
So you can find this. Let me go ahead and show the front of the box to the camera here, so if anyone's looking for this, you know what it looks like and how to find it. Yeah, no mistake. Citadel Extremis #1.
Yeah, we just got it in, and God, I want to stop just short of giving an address of some of the big stores, but sooner or later they will be on the shelves there. But I know Premier over there off of Yale. They know they have it on the shelves out there. But anyway, also our friend Alex Lay out there in NASA Liquor. I'm pretty sure they have it on the shelves too. But anyway, so what we did with this one is we took our reserve gin. Let me back up a little bit and tell you about the Citadel Reserve. The Citadel Reserve is a aged gin that we make, and the first time we did it was in 2009, and it was just the straight up 19 botanicals we used in the Citadel, and we were using once used Pierre Ferrand cognac barrels to age it, and it was good, but there was just still something just not quite there. We knew that it could be better. And in 2011, we started adding more botanicals to it. We started expanding on the aging process. And what we did, the botanicals, we used 3 botanicals extra. One was yuzu, which is a Japanese citrus.
Yeah, I've heard of that. They use that in some of the Japanese liqueurs too. Yes.
Yeah. What else? We have cornflower, which is a bittering agent, and also we use the secretion. It's from a gland of duck genitals. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. No. That
this is going to be a good long run. Yeah.
No. The third. Oh wow! I gotta erase that. What did I say? I said we said the yuzu citrus, the cornflower, and Genepi is a third extra botanical.
Which does sound kind of suspicious in terms of just its name.
Well, Genepi is a very herbaceous agent that is actually one of the main profiles of chartreuse.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So we add those to it, and now we're going to age it in 6 different kinds of barrels. We're using used Pierre Ferrand barrels that are Tronchet oak and also Limousin oak. We're using barrels that held our Pinot de Charon dessert wine. We're using chestnut, acacia, cherry oak. And when they all get to spend time inside those barrels, then we're going to blend them all. Actually, the gin will go from barrel to barrel to barrel. So we're not blending different barrel aging. They will each gin will spend time in each barrel. Then it gets added to the big wooden egg, and we let it blend for a while before we bottle it. Right. Now, so that's the reserve. With this, it's going to be basically that same gin, but we are adding some what we call sucre toast. Sucralose is toasted sugar that we make at the distillery, which is a really nice dark sugar that we age with cognac. Put it in barrels and let it age years. And it's what we use for our dosage, which is we're going to sweeten some of our other spirits. But whereas we're just using like an eyedropper's worth per liter in those other spirits, this one we used quite a bit.
Well, is that the reason it has more of an amber color? Because I'm used to gin being, a little more of a clear type of spirit.
A little bit. It's a little bit darker than the reserve, but that's going to come from that dark sugar, but also it's going to spend that extra time in the barrel to age.
Okay,
so it's a combination of
the
both.
aging will cause it to take on more of the color as well. Well,
it looks like, and I'm just looking at the video here, but it also looks like it's got a little more legs to it.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, the sucralose is going to add some viscosity to it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, this is no liqueur. We're stopping short of a liqueur here, but it just for an old Tom, it's a little bit extra sweeter than usual.
It is very fragrant on the nose. It's much like if you walked into someone's garden that had a lot of really exotic flowers and tropical flowers that were like the heavily scented kind. That's kind of what it reminds me of. It's very both earthy and floral kind of at the same time. I love it on the nose. It's really and it delivers on the front exactly that. But on the finish, there you get that sweetness. That what did you call the sugar that you do?
Sucralose. It's toasted sugar in French.
The toasted sugar. You couldn't describe it better than that. Actually, it is a toasted sugar. In fact, I'll almost say that on the finish, it reminds me a little of cinnamon toast. Just a little of that sort of.
There's cinnamon in the gin.
Buttery.
So it's one of the botanicals.
Yeah, that sort of. But you know what I'm talking. That sort of butter and cinnamon and sugar that's on that's on a really good piece of cinnamon toast. This is delicious. So I very much.
Now I've had some aged gins before, and I haven't experienced this one, but I've noticed that they're not really. I haven't found them to be cocktail friendly, but they are delicious on their own.
So what I would say about that, especially with our reserve, is that I find that it works well in cocktails that you might use whiskey.
Oh, wow, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Something like an old-fashioned or something?
Sure, old-fashioned, absolutely. Well, honestly, it makes a tremendous Negroni. And with that aged aspect of the wood, it's somewhere in between a Boulevardier and a Negroni.
I want to describe the sweetness of this because it's not sweet. When he initially was talking about a much sweeter gin, I was actually a little bit worried that it might not be to my palate, but it absolutely is, and the sweetness is more like the sweetness of a simple syrup that's on the finish. It's not a floral sweetness necessarily. There's floral in the beginning when you first on the very front end, and then the sweetness that follows is not. It's not that sort of more sickly sweet floral.
It's
more of it's not cloying at all. And this is a very, very delicious gin and very different actually from any other one that I've had.
Well, that's our goal. I just took a sip and you ever had like a lemon square with the powdered sugar on top?
Yes.
Right in the middle of the tongue. That's what it tasted like to me, just for a brief moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's also got great complexity.
Because I'm not there, I'm going to need you to put your hands together like this when you're done with the show and save me a sip.
Okay. You know what you'll like about this, Ian, is the complexity. It has a distinctly different beginning, and then in the middle, what he was talking about on the tongue, there's that definite tongue flavor like that lemon square thing, and then on the finish, there's this completely different sort of sweetness. I'm very impressed.
I love libations that have that full ride across the palate.
Yes.
Sometimes when they're one-dimensional, they're all up front, they're all aftertaste, drives me a little crazy. But I love that full ride across the palate.
When spirits are brief, it's disappointing.
I don't know how good.
How does it do with the cube of ice?
You know what? I know one fella he says that he likes it just like that. He drinks it with it's like the big the clear ice, like fat ice, and drinks it just like that. And he likes it. I personally have never tried it that way. I've drinking it by itself, but I'm a cocktail guy. I'm a boozy cocktail guy. So I'm like make me something like one of my favorites is the hanky panky, which is going to be gin with a bar spoon of Fernet and some sweet vermouth. And I love this one in the hanky panky. So, but I know a guy that loves it a lot like that.
I don't know how this is going to work. in terms of a segue, going from one thing that has some sweetness to another. But in this segment, I did want to taste one of our beers for today, which is the Kirsch Gose. This is from Victory, and I will be honest with you, I have sampled this before because I was in Specs and they were doing a sampling, and I saw the can. I was like, well, it's from Victory. I'll try anything that Victory makes because they are that impressive a brewery. They're from Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and I used to live only a few miles from the brewery and was always impressed. But this is a very different thing than Victory usually makes, Ian, because they're very much into, you know, the super hoppy IPAs and the very, very big, you know, imperial stouts and things of that nature. So
yeah, they have like Hop Devil and quite a few others like that are pretty unforgiving on the hop.
So this Gose, I thought, would be a very different experience. And then it's a sour cherry beer. And it says here, beer blended with cherry juice and coriander. But I know these guys are really quality. Like, I'm not expecting something gimmicky from
looks watermelon-y flavored, like just the color of it.
Yeah, it really does.
It has that almost pinkish kind of
It's right here.
Yes, right. I don't know whether you got whether you picked up that on the camera, but hitting right here, you get that. That's where the sour kind of hits you.
Yeah,
and it's a
on
delicious,
the outside edges of the tongue, and then right as you swallow,
it's a delicious sort of sour, which reminds me a lot of a really good sour cherry pie. You know, where it's got where the cherries have got the sour underneath the sort of sweetness of the sugar of the pie. It's really quite delicious.
It's very good.
It's very refreshing, but it is very flavor forward. It's not being shy at all about the cherry. Let's just say that.
I was ready to hate this when I was like wild cherry goes. I mean, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not that deep in beer. I don't know beer that well as I do spirits, but I found about Gose for the first time last week when Pasha over at Rosewater in Clear Lake had sent me a recipe, and it's called the Somersault. It's using our 1840 cognac, our Stiggins fancy rum, some lime, some simple syrup, and built over ice topped with Gose. I go, what is Gose? I had never heard of it before. Yeah. He had to explain to me what it was, so this is my actually first time trying it.
A whole lot of companies are producing Goses this summer, it seems like. Gose is kind
of becoming a very popular style now.
Becoming the summer style for beer. So, in fact, we've had one. This is the third week in a row, Ian, that we've had a Gose on the show. So, so very interesting. I have a can of this saved cold in my refrigerator for you for when you return, my friend. So
we will have to review.
Yes, we will have to review. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I think maybe we shift to rum. You guys make some rums that I'm already familiar with and very excited about. And, you know, the whole plantation line is just, man, this is quality stuff. So we're going to get to that, plus more beers to taste. As a matter of fact, Ian, we're going to be sampling the Hemperor. It is a...
Hemperor?
The Hemperor, with an H.
The Hemperor.
Yes. It's from New Belgium. It's one of their first beers that is brewed with both hops and hemp. So we'll get to that coming up in our next segment. Plus, I still have to tell you why people who drink are actually more reliable than those who don't. Scientific proof, or at least the proof of a research study.
That's almost as interesting as beaver butt whiskey.
Yeah, not quite, but... I'm wondering if we should just call the show Beaver Butt Whiskey and be done with it. You know, that's a hashtag to compete with. All right, we'll be back at Smoking and Toasting. You're listening to show number 92.
FYI, Florida is burgeoning with breweries.
Oh yeah,
they are.
Now, are you close to
in Total Wine? They have an entire section that's just Florida.
When I was in Destin, it seemed like there were an awful lot of Florida and sort of southern Georgia type breweries that were being represented. Are you close to Cigar City? Cigar City Brewing, the guys that do that High IPA?
You know what? I would have to assume I am. However, I haven't looked up. Tomorrow I'll be wandering around again, and I'm going to be trying some of those things. But let's look that up while we're talking.
You know what you should do, my friend, is get a box and send like some singles back that we can try. on the show because it's hard to get some of that stuff here.
Is it Cruz?
Yes.
That's a pretty good idea, actually.
Some what?
I spotted some
Oh,
bottled
absolutely,
water.
yes. There's bottled water and there's a Topo Chico in there. Mm-hmm. But both in the fridge and the bottom drawers.
So I am not far from Cigar City Brewing. It is, let's see here. As per Google Maps, it is 35 minutes from me, 22 miles total.
Nice.
But yeah, it's everywhere around here. The Cigar City says, "Hey, what's up, man?"
Web session working?
It's working great. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Well, you're looking relaxed.
I'm feeling it.
He's way more relaxed than we are. This is very nice, by the way. Very nice.
Glad you like it. We're very proud of it. And, we say it's limited, and if it takes off, I'm sure they can always put more sugar toast into the reserve, We have one, actually.
I
we
do
have a
love
wild
the
blossom
wrapper on
one
this
that's
cigar.
made
Check
cherry
this out.
blossom, but we got shot down by the TTB to bring into the United States. I don't know why. But we also have one that's a lot more juniper, aging in juniper wood barrels. Oh, it tastes like Christmas.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if they're going to bottle that one or not, but I hope they do. I hope they do.
Nice. I love it. I love it. All right, here we go. Okay. Ready when you are, sir. I don't know which rum you want to go to first, but
We'll probably start with the 5-year right here.
I have some experience with that rum.
Yeah, okay.
But yes, please.
Here we go.
Welcome back, my friends.
That table is delicious. I'm
Smoking
sorry,
and
I was
toasting.
out of time.
It's Smoking and Toasting, and you're welcome to come crashing in anytime, Ian. That's for those of you that we haven't explained, Ian's on Skype today. This is the first time we've tried this on the show, and it seems to be working great, actually. So I want to thank John Whiteside, our technical director here, as well as Adam on the Wheels of Steel for making this happen. But yeah, there's always going to be a little lag time on Skype. So like if I say something insulting about Ian, you'll see him not look responsive to it, and then a second later he'll respond and either agree or disagree. So that's just the way the show will work today. Yeah. You're doing a good job of being
That is correct, Chris.
He's doing the I hear you nod.
Yes,
I hear you nod.
yes,
I hear you nod.
Yes, that's perfect.
I'm trying to be like the news media, when they're on location.
Yes, exactly.
And the awkward hesitation.
Hey, Ian, the Deep Ellum Brewery in Dallas has been acquired. However, it's been acquired, so we'll have to see how we feel about this. It has not been acquired by AB InBev or by one of the big companies. It's been acquired by a Colorado-based collective of craft brands. Terms of the deal have not been announced, but officials with the Canarchy Craft Brew Collective, which also includes Oscar Blues, Wasatch, Squatters Craft, Perrin, and Cigar City Brewing, which is about 30 minutes from where Ian's sitting right now.
Interesting.
They said that Deep Ellum is coming onto their line right away with the company. Deep Ellum is the third largest craft brewery in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they are joining the 9th largest craft brewery in America. Like many of this group's previous acquisition, Deep Ellum's been in a pretty significant growth mode. We've tried a number of their beers here on the show, and they increased their production 37% in 2017. And they're in the process of adding a 60-barrel brew house at their main Dallas facility and opening a tap room in Fort Worth. Now, they have been distributing only in Texas, primarily within 20 miles of the brewery, although I know we found them at Specs and other places here. But the acquisition by Canarchy will allow it to grow pretty rapidly outside of Texas, and the Deep Ellum people are saying they really feel good about it and feel like it was the right move. So Canarchy not being a big distributor, does it change the way you feel about it at all, Ian? Is it? I mean, it's basically a craft beer collective, so these are like-minded folks, right? You would assume?
That to me seems like it's an opportunity I don't really know a lot about what a collective is, but it sounds to me like it's an opportunity for a company to get bigger without having to be owned under that big parent monster company.
Yeah, and I mean, this is America.
I'd have to look into that and see.
This is America. There's nothing really.
Blonde ale's delicious, so we'll see. Does it change?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like if some of these, Wicked Weed and some of these guys that have been acquired by the big boys, if they can go through the acquisition and not lose the quality of their beer, you got to think that Deep Ellum could do the same, being acquired by these guys. I will say, by the way, I was out at Papacito's this week. My wife and some friends and I, and they had on their menu the Karbach Big and Bright IPA, and that's what I had. That is a fantastically delicious IPA, and that was one they didn't even release until after they were, owned by AB InBev. So there's still great beer happening at a lot of the places that are owned by the big boys. It's just, I think at this point it's more a moral question than anything else, don't you?
So the other question is, does the collective just allow them more resources to be creative?
I think so, and it allows them also to distribute outside of the distribution avenues that they already have in place. I think,
and continue to grow. And does it let it run a lot like it used to run? Right, is another question too. Right, I know Oscar Blues makes great beer.
Oh, I'm
Dale's
a big
Pale
fan
Ale. Of Oscar Blues.
Dale's Pale Ale is one of the most delicious beers out there. Just fantastic.
Absolutely, the Gubna.
Oh yeah,
the old Chub.
The old
Scotch
Chub.
Ale's fantastic.
Yeah, the old Chub. Thank you. That's good. That's good stuff. Greg Desakis from Maison Ferrand is here. How old is your company? How long has Maison been around?
Well, Maison Ferrand, the company was formed in 1989 when our owner Alexander Gabriel and some of his partners partnered up with the Ferrand family.
Okay.
But the Ferrand family had been making cognac for over 300 years.
And they were initially, cognac was their primary thing, right?
Still is. But yeah.
Still is, yeah.
Well, yeah. But it's cognac, and literally in cognac in France is where our base of operations is. Everything gets done there. The gin is made there. The rum is going to be aged there. Our offices are there. If you want to visit the plantation facility, you have to go to Cognac in France.
And so the rum, was that an acquisition, or was that something launched internally inside the company?
Well, let me tell you the full story about plantation rum and how it came about. So, we made cognac first and foremost, the Pierre Ferrand label, which is 100% Grand Champagne cognac. Everything that we do, from our $40 bottle to our rare $1,000 bottle, all 100% Grand Champagne cognac. But the thing is, you can only make cognac in the fall and winter months. You have to shut down production after March 31st, and you cannot distill any more cognac until October 1st.
And this is because of legal reasons in France?
Well, it is a law, but I think the real reason behind the law is to maintain quality, because they don't want any fermented wines to sit. They want it to all be pull your grapes, ferment your wine, distill your cognac.
And do it quickly, yes.
Right.
Okay.
And then get it in the barrels. So, we had those beautiful stills sitting there doing nothing for 6 months out of the year, and that's just wasteful and just made them crazy. And that's when we decided to do the Citadel gin. And after some convincing of the AOC out there, they gave us license to create the gin, and we found there were some extra expenses that we did not see. So we had always had rum producers calling our owner Alexander Gabriel saying, send us some barrels to age our rum. He never did it. He didn't want to do it.
Some cognac barrels, right?
Cognac barrels.
Yes.
And so we finally gave in and started selling some barrels to the rum producers to make up some money in the initial launch of Citadel.
Right.
All right. So fast forward until today. Well, it got to the point where he's like, you know what? Instead of me selling you barrels, how about you send me some rum? And that's how it all got started.
Interesting. So it was a trade agreement almost. Yeah.
No, just kind of. Yeah. I guess it started that way. But there is no plantation distillery.
Okay.
We do own the West Indies Rum Distillery in Barbados, which is the largest one on the island. We do own a piece of the Long Pond Distillery in Jamaica and the Clarendon Distillery in Jamaica.
So that's where you get your rums from.
Well, that's where we get some of our rums from, because the whole idea about plantation is it is we like to call it the celebration of the diversity of terroir of rum. That is to say that rums are different from country to country, island to island. Jamaican rum is very different from St. Lucia rum, which is very different from Barbados rum, and so forth and so on. So we're proud of the fact that we are producing rums from all these countries. So all plantation rum is going to be made in its native style. It's going to in its native country, and that could be pot stills, it could be column stills. It's going to be aged in bourbon barrels in its native country. We call that tropical aging, and then it all comes back to France, and we age it longer in the Pierre Ferrand cognac barrels. We call that continental aging.
So all of the plantation rums, regardless of what country, wind up in France, where they're aged in the cognac barrels before they're sent out. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's very cool. And I'm a big fan of rum and a big fan of plantation too. I just everything that I have sampled from you guys, I've thought was terrific. And I mentioned that the plantation pineapple infused is one of the go-tos at my house. But you brought some that you are think particularly good with cigars. I think rum in general is very good with cigars. But tell me about what you brought and what we want to sample here today.
So the first one I brought is our get the camera right here. There we go.
You go. Yep.
Our 5-year Barbados rum. This one is produced at our West Indies Rum Distillery facility. We also brought a couple of vintage rums. We'll release vintages every now and then. We see a lot more of them in Europe than we do in the United States. But this one is our Jamaica 2002, right here.
If you had to describe the basic difference between a Barbados rum and a Jamaican rum, like as you're approaching the character of them, what would that be?
Well, Barbados rum is fruity and vibrant. It's a little bit lighter as far as mouthfeel, I think, than Jamaican rum. Jamaican rum is funkier and it's got that what they call the hogo. It's the Jamaican funkiness to it.
And is that because of, like in wine, the terroir? Is it the soil, or in which the sugar is raised, or is it a difference in the style of how it's processed and distilled?
Where the sugarcane comes from, the air quality, is it next to the ocean? Are they distilling next to the ocean? Are they aging next to the ocean? Is it pot still or column still? Makes a huge difference. Are they using a dunder pit? Is it or muck pit, as they say?
I like dunder pit. I like dunder pit better, don't you, Ian?
I'm so jealous.
Well, this is fantastic. Now, this is the 5-year, right?
5-year Barbados.
The 5-year Barbados.
Now, you'll notice a little bit more alcohol on the nose, though it's only 80 proof, but it's not there on the palate.
But you're so right, because when you are initially just kind of taking it to your nose, it does come across like it's going to have more of a bite than it does. This goes down very, very smooth and very sweet. Again, with just a very pleasant sweetness on the finish that you expect from rum, but don't always get. Sometimes there'll be a bite on the finish that will not necessarily leave you with the same sweetness. But this is just absolutely delicious. And this is not an expensive rum, is it?
No, you can find us on the liquor shelves anywhere from like $19 to $24, $25.
That's crazy that this rum is under $25.
What was the price point on that?
Like $19 to $25.
Can you believe that?
Get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. And that's one of the things about, and one of the reasons we're such fans at my house of the pineapple too, is it's not an expense. What you get for that price point is just unbelievable, you know?
That is a high price to quality.
It really is. It really is. Index. That scores very high on the P to Q. So the Barbados rum is fantastic. The Jamaican, though, is what would we expect for the difference in that in flavor again?
So it's going to be a lot funkier for sure. Jamaican rum has a definite fingerprint to it. You definitely know it right away when you're drinking Jamaican rum. I'm going to jump ahead.
Okay.
I do have our 2002 Jamaican vintage right here, but I'm going to let a little cat out of the bag. We are producing a new rum.
He's brought a secret bottle, Ian. I don't know if you saw that on the camera.
I see that.
Yeah, the secret bottle. Look at that.
This is a little sampler bottle, and the live product should be landing in Texas hopefully by September. It's called Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Xaymaca. It's how the native Jamaicans called Jamaica before it was colonized. Okay.
Jamaica.
Jamaica. And what this is...
Isn't that a Bob Marley song, Jamaica?
Yeah, something like that.
I think it might be. Yeah, I don't know. I just thinking it must be. So,
if I were to... Probably.
so is this a vintage or a specific blend?
Specific blend. It's going to be a blend of 5 rums, all pot still.
Oh my! Now, this is so different on the nose from the Barbados.
Completely different ages, different proofs. And I hope I get this right because we just got this one. It's going to be 3 rums from the Clarendon distillery and 2 from Long Pond. I might have those backwards and confused, but it's going to be 3 from one distillery and 2 from another one. We call it the Jamaica Special Dry because it's one of the driest. It is the driest rum we've ever produced before, but it's not bland. It's not brief. It's still got plenty of flavor. It has that funkiness that you want from a Jamaican rum, but not super, super high in esters to where it's unpalatable without mixing.
Wow.
Cruz, tell me what you're smelling on that.
It's
what's the
nose? It's almost hard to make it out because there's so much there. Whereas on the Barbados rum, you go to that and it's pretty straightforward in terms of the aromas that you're getting. With this one, I want to use the word funkiness. You smell the funkiness.
Definitely.
You know, it's definitely got more of an alcohol sort of a forward aroma to it.
No, with a good Jamaican rum, you want the funk. You got to have that funk.
Yes, it's almost. We want the funk, actually. You know, but
it's okay for booze to smell a little boozy.
Well, and it's also got and this is a term. I know this doesn't sound like a complimentary thing, but it's something that a lot of rums have. Almost just this hint of rubberiness to the not to the texture, but to the aroma. Like it's got a very. It's not an unpleasant rubberiness, but it's just sort of like. I don't know. Maybe licorice is a better
rubber plant is definitely on the tasting wheel of rum.
Yeah,
no question about it.
It's definitely there. But then when you drink it, you don't get a rubbery flavor. What you get instead is just this. Wow, this sort of it's. I hate to just keep using the word funky, but it is funky in the most wonderfully pleasant way. This is one of the more complex rums I've had in a long time.
Do we have time for another one for this?
Sure, let's do one more in this segment.
So let's jump to Jamaica 2002. I want you to see the difference. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be one pot still distillery. It's not a blend of the different ones from that one. And I think it's 10 years in a bourbon cask, 2 years in a a cognac cask back in France.
I'll also say while he's pouring, Ian, this one not nearly as sweet as some rums in terms of the way it leaves you on the finish.
Well, he said it was very dry.
Yeah, very dry.
We can call it the special dry.
And you just get the impression that there's almost no cigar this wouldn't pair with, if that makes sense. Like it feels like it's such a broad and complex mix of flavors, but it wouldn't overpower something. That was mellower, but it wouldn't fight with something that was more intense. So,
and that was going to be line price with the 5-year Barbados.
Okay, so this was the secret bottle here, right?
Yeah, we consider it a sister or cousin product to the 5-year Barbados, where this is just your Barbados rum in a nutshell, and that's our Jamaican rum in a nutshell.
So your Jamaican rum in a nutshell, your say that word again. How you pronounce it?
Jamaica.
What are we looking at?
Jamaica.
A price point on that one.
Same as this one. About when it finally lands, around $20-$25.
Wow. That does not taste like an under $50 rum at all to me.
I don't have anything over $50.
Wow.
Yet. Yet.
that does amaze me a little bit because I think, and I'm not encouraging you to do this, but in all fairness, if you put that on the market as a $48 rum, I don't think people would bat an eye paying $48 for that.
Oh man, don't give the guys in France any ideas.
No,
right?
again, I'm not trying to, but that's the kind of quality I think that you're talking about. But again, one of the things I love about the Plantation line is it's such an affordable line of rums where you get really, really good quality, I think, at the under 40.
I think rum to be fair, rum as a category is still, I think, reasonably priced. It hasn't quite blown out of control like we've seen whiskey done in the past.
And even tequila, you can get some incredibly expensive tequilas, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but rum has Although there are some.
There are some.
It has stayed as a category, I think, more recently.
I would never say that that expensive rum is not worth it. There are some that are very worth it. And a lot of time it comes down to availability, how much they have. There's proof has a lot to do with it. Of course, years have a lot to do with it. But I do have some more expensive rums coming sooner than later. But for right now, I'd say the most expensive one that's on the shelves in the market is going to be this one right here, which we'll get to later.
Okay. Now, I'm really glad that we tasted these three in the same segment because they are so different from each other. And tell me again, this last one is the...
The last one is the Jamaica 2002 vintage.
The 2002 vintage.
Right.
So this is funky in a totally different way.
Yeah,
it's got its own sort of dryness to it, but it's wow. I don't know how it manages to do this, but it's less sweet, but still tastes totally like a rum.
I don't know. I personally get more sweetness out of it, and I get a lot of butter on the nose. I've told this story so many times, but I can't.
It is butterier. Yes.
I can't help but tell it. We were having meetings in France. We go every year in January, and it's just cold as heck. But we're out there, and we have the European team out there, the American team, and we do have a house out there at the chateau. And the European team always, sneaks into the house before we get there, so we stay at these hotels. But the hotels are great; they're really nice hotels. But the downside is, you can't just reach over and grab your bottle of whatever you want. So this last time we were there, on our way out in that first night, we absconded with two things. We had a 70-year-old Pierre Ferrand, the Ancestral, a 60 to 70-year-old cognac, and this Jamaican 2002 rum. And I tried it for the first time back then. And why three of the other guys were tag teaming this bottle of Pierre Ferrand cognac, I could not get my nose out of this bottle of rum.
I could totally see that.
It was just buttery and rich. And we have a Jamaican 2001, which was good, but it wasn't this good.
Well, I was about to say, this feels like something that you could just drink all day. That you could just sip on this all day, and it would not be overwhelming. It would not be too much, but it's something that kind of keeps calling you back in a way, maybe more so than even some of these other things that we've tasted. This one's calling my name, Ian.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm really glad we tasted all of these in the same segment. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's interesting that you say that because I find rum, and I'm kind of new to rum. Like my dad loved rum, but he liked it in a big plastic bottle with a ship on it. and I wouldn't say it was good rum, but he liked it.
Yes. If you like it, it's good.
But so I'm kind of new to rum. Like you turned me on to a lot of the rums, including the plantation one, which again that's become a staple on our shelves at all time. Rum, I find where I generally, with liquor in general, I like a little bit of ice, or I like it cold, at least to start. Even my whiskey, I like to put a piece of ice in there and then just taste all the different flavors that happens. And I don't find myself doing that with rum. Rum, even warm or room temperature, is delicious the way it is. And I find that an interesting aspect of rum.
I'm the same way because I do believe, and there's a lot of purists out there that say you never add anything to whiskey but whiskey, and I've always found that to be just nonsense. Because the fact of the matter is, and even your some of your producers will tell you this, that you haven't really tried a spirit till you cut through some of the alcohol and open it up. Sometimes it requires one drop of water. Sometimes it requires 1 cube. But to be perfectly honest, and while you were talking, I was trying to go back in my Rolodex memory there and think, have I ever put ice in these rums straight? I never have.
It didn't really occur to me to do that.
I never thought about it until just now when you asked that. I never have.
Well, I can tell you this: the rum is good room temperature, but it's also really amazing. And I'm talking about the plantation pineapple now. Really amazing in the bushwhackers that my wife makes, which are these frozen.
It's very popular in Alabama.
Drinks. I was about to ask. Your wife makes a frozen drink using that plantation rum.
Yes, using the plantation rum with the pineapple, and that's what it's called.
Dangerous.
That's what it's called, the bushwhacker. It's amazing. We had them. We had them in the islands when we were down in the British Virgin Islands for my friend Dave's daughter's wedding, and came back. And my wife said, "I'm gonna figure out how to make these." And she went on the internet, tried a couple of recipes, but she didn't perfect them until she started using the plantation pineapple as the rum. that's when they just got amazing. So
I think we just got a new spokesperson.
yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. I think we have a little more rum to taste. We have some cognac. We didn't get to that Hemperor, so we'll get to that coming up. And I want to report on your cigar, Ian, when we come back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
This cigar is smoking beautiful.
Fun times.
My nephew was talking to. I never heard of Bushwhackers before.
So-
He's from Alabama, and there's a bar out there called Floribama that's super popular, and apparently that's like their
know the
big
place.
thing. He was
I
telling
know
me
the
about
place.
it.
I didn't know Bushwhackers were their big thing, but I know the place. Yeah, we were.
So I'm fighting a few things here. There's a little timing issue sometimes.
Yeah.
But also, apparently, the neighbors have decided to do all their lawn work at once right
Oh,
behind
yeah,
me.
of course, of course. And do they have a leaf blower? Because no show is
yeah.
complete without a leaf blower.
Yeah, and it's intermittent. It's not the weed eater, then the mower, then the blower. It's like, it just keeps going around in circles.
It's actually not that. Yeah, I'm not really picking up on that much of it. So
Glad to hear. Well, next time, I'll make sure I have earbuds for this in the mic. That way we can get a little closer with it. But it's a learning experience.
I'm just
Now we
sorry
know
you.
what we need for this.
I'm just sorry you were missing out on the rum, sir.
I am sorry I'm missing out on a rum. That looks amazing.
Yes.
So,
But-
and while he's out of the room, take that secret bottle and put it
Say
in
again?
the
You-
drawer.
Say what?
I said, while he's out of the room, take the secret bottle and put it in the
And
drawer.
put it in the drawer. Ian was just instructing me while
Oh,
we
wait.
were out of the room to take this.
He's
and
back.
put it in the
Sure.
drawer. Yeah. Love it. It is, yeah. Well, I had heard it was supposed to storm this weekend,
I
but
didn't think it was today, though.
yeah, I didn't think it was today either.
Yeah, that thing was getting bad up there.
All right.
Just so you know, Chris, that segment was 22 minutes.
Yeah, I knew we were way over, but
Sorry,
was
I go
was
on.
that 4 or 3?
That was 3.
That was 3. All right, we'll do a short 4.
I made Chris Hart go 30 minutes over
Yeah.
on this.
That's awesome. That's a good sign, and we can do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I knew we were over on that one. So okay, welcome back. Oh wait, before you play the music, I just have to grab an opener.
So how's it going out there?
Right here?
It's storming.
Yeah.
Storming. We got bad weather now.
You guys are in the AC. That's at least nice.
Man, we were in Barbados last week touring the distillery and the sugar facilities out there. And I got, every time somebody saw that I was in Barbados, I got the obligatory, life's real hard. We spent the entire day in meeting rooms with very little air conditioning. It was like,
life is a little tough when
it's
you're
been about 5% beach and rum, 95%. My God, I'm dying.
All right, ready when you are, sir. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, segment number 4. Ian, either you have a very strange ringtone or there's some sort of tropical bird in your area, because I'm hearing this chirpy.
So before they were mowing the lawn behind me, we actually had a ton of these tropical bird sounds going on around me, and I thought that would be a great backdrop.
Yep. It's making you seem very exotic, I will say. Yeah, it's very nice. So here's a little exotic sound for you.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. I will say,
I love that.
when I was on Chris Hart's show yesterday, which we had a great time and tasted some wonderful, wonderful rum and whiskey and a couple of great beers, but I really missed the sound effects. It's the organic sound effects that I think, in the end, that's probably the single best thing about our show. So,
Look what I found.
what is that?
Unholy.
Oh, where did you find this, Mr. Ian Barry?
This is a local Florida thing.
Mm-hmm.
The unholy triple.
Yeah.
It is. What does it say on the bottle? It says sacrilegious hops, fruity and funky.
Mm-hmm.
And it has that funk in it that is fantastic.
We've talked a lot about funk on the show today. The word of the show, the last couple of shows, has been dank. But today it's funk. Today it's definitely about the funk.
It's been a lot of funk for three white guys,
Yeah,
for sure.
you're pretty right on about that. Now, speaking of both funk and dank, what we're about to sample here is New Belgium's what they call an HPA, which is, I believe, standing for a hemp pale ale. It is their hemp infused New Belgium. It says hops and hemp rain, HPA, and then together at last. And it is a 7% alcohol by volume, and it is freely available at the 100% employee-owned New Belgium brewery. So
New Belgium is a great brewery.
they really are. I mean, that's what Fat Tire
so many
is their
fantastic beers.
yeah,
Classic.
Fat Tire is their classic sort of straight ahead beer. And I always say one of the things I never hear people talk about this with Fat Tire, but I love the chocolate on the finish of Fat Tire. For an amber ale to have a chocolate finish is amazing.
Right, it has that malty profile, and when you get one that's really fresh,
Yes.
like it's just it tastes like bread that just came out of the oven with chocolate. It's amazing.
So I'm very excited about sampling the Hemperor, and I don't really know what to expect. So
Does it smell like Otto's jacket?
it does smell like Otto's jacket. There's no question. In fact, I almost burst out with "Hey, little dude" when I
aroma on this beer.
Yeah, I not that I would have any real concept of what a bud would smell like, but my guess would be that what a bud would smell like is what you get on the nose with this beer.
The flavor on this is so thick you can spread it on toast. There's a lot going on with this beer.
Well, it's very interesting.
Now, does it have a big mouthfeel like that?
Yes,
Huge.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
I don't know that this is. I don't dislike this, but I don't know if it's something I would choose to go out and buy a 6-pack of and just quaff down. You know what I mean? It's more like isn't this interesting to taste with friends at a little get together? It's after dinner and you've had some really great lasagna and you want to just do something interesting.
I think it's I'm having one beer.
Mm-hmm.
Very
I think you're
flavorful,
right.
but yeah.
I think you're right.
I
It is
usually
flavor-
save I'm only having one beer for the half-gallon jug of Dead Guy Ale. I can buy.
But you're only having one, right? That's when you tell your wife, "I'm only having one beer." Yeah. This is I think it's more interesting than delicious, if that makes sense. It is very interesting, and I've got it nice and cold, which I don't think you would want this anything less than ice cold. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Some people like their beer a little warmer, but I don't know.
And I've been being from Texas.
Well,
I mean,
maybe set
be.
a sip aside and see how it tastes after the next segment.
But Ian, I think
Or
you're
during the
right.
next segment.
As creative a name as the Hemperor is, I do think they should have named it Otto's
Did you get
Jacket.
some grapefruit?
I
on
wonder
that?
if that's a
You know
take
what?
on
Yes.
what was that old book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, or
Yes.
something like that. It was all about.
Yes.
So I want to update this cigar here.
Please do.
This thing has burned beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
and it's burned long, and it is delicious. This is actually a more full flavor cigar than it led me to believe at the beginning of it.
Interesting.
But it stayed with that dry, I want to say campfire and wood.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great sitting outside in the sun having a cigar kind of cigar. It goes with everything so far. I've been enjoying it. I'm going to give this at a $6 cigar that I bought this for. This is getting a solid 7 right now.
Wow, Ian, that's a huge rating for you. You are not a man who passes out the big ratings very liberally. You know?
Unless it's a black and mild.
Yes, yes, of course. So we're hearing some thunder here outside our studios, which we can even hear through the.
I can actually hear it here.
Yeah. So we're now even more jealous of you sitting outside and smoking a cigar, my friend.
So yesterday when we were walking up and down in Ybor City, me and my wife, we were walking up and down Ybor City, and we overheard a few people saying, "Oh, I think it's going to rain," and it's clear skies. I mean, I can point this camera straight up. There's a couple clouds, but it's clear and beautiful. And I was like, "That's a weird thought." And so we were sitting inside, and there's a guy making a drink for my wife, and we looked outside. It is bright sunshiny and raining buckets.
Yes.
Sideways.
Well, you are in Florida, and having lived in Florida myself for a couple of years, I can tell you that during the spring and summer in Florida, it rains every afternoon from 4 to 4:15, and then the sun comes right back out, and you would never know that the rain had happened if the pavement wasn't wet. You know?
It was pretty amazing. And one of the things I like, simple life pleasures, like after the rain, you get that clean, ozone-y rain kind of smell. It smelled so good outside.
Yes.
And because we're close to the Gulf, you get the sea air smell.
Yep.
And all of that, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it does not smell like that when it rains here, so you were totally making me jealous.
And Cigar, because we were in Ybor City.
Yes, of course.
Everything smelled like Cigar in Ybor City, by the way.
So I thought we'd go back to rum. We've got a little more rum to try. I thought we'd go back to rum for this segment, and then in our last segment we do a little cognac. But what have we not tried here that you want to make sure we sample?
So I think the one that you have right there is the Cigar
You're talking about
Drinker's
this one?
Rum. Yes,
the Cigar Drinker's Rum. Okay,
Yeah.
so Ian just sat forward to check out
paying
the
attention
Cigar
to that.
Drinker's Rum. We're with Greg Doxakis, who is with the company that makes, among other things, Plantation Rum, which both Ian and I are big fans of. And it's interesting because we can be a little snooty with our spirits, but these are not expensive spirits.
What is the name on that one?
This one, we call it the 20th Anniversary XO. It was created by our team at Maison Ferrand. It was almost a little bit of a surprise. It was a surprise for Alexander Gabriel, the owner and our master blender, to celebrate 20 years of Maison Ferrand creating spirits. And it's not 20 years old. It does say 20th. The TH is on there. We're not trying to pull a fast one here. It's about 10 to 12 years old, though. All Barbados rums. And longer continental and tropical aging.
So is this a more expensive than some of the other ones?
Yes, this one you're looking at $45 to $55.
$45 to $55. So more expensive, but still not in that ultra expensive category that you could find a few things in.
Yeah, well, a lot of times that category is going to be like 30, 40, 50-year-old rums. We don't have any rums that old. We haven't been making rums that long. We will someday. So this one right here. Tropical.
Have you ever taken your hand or tried your hand at blending?
Me?
That to me just seems fascinating. Yes.
Yes, but not for Maison Ferrand.
It seems fascinating.
Yeah.
That someone can take these ingredients and create something beautiful out of it. I mean, much like a chef.
And it's not just
but to be
blending,
able to do that on a consistent basis.
It's not just blending, but it would be blending and then aging, right? And then seeing what comes out of that blend after a certain amount of time.
Well, it depends on what you're making. That's different than we do at Ferrand, or at least with Plantation.
Right.
Okay, well, so the one you're trying now, on the nose, very tropical, a lot of coconut.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah. Dessertish. It's rich. It's it's sweet, but again, not too super cloyingly sweet. You don't get that Coca-Cola syrup quality that you can get from some other dark, rich rums. The rich category, as I call them, because they're just not as in price, but just richness and viscosity.
Wow! I just took the first sip of this. This is outrageously good. I have one word for the finish: snickerdoodle.
Oh wow!
It's like that. That certain flavor that the snickerdoodle cookie has. That's what I get on the finish. But it's not. Rums are sweet by nature, obviously. There's always going to be some sugariness and some sweetness to rums. But what's interesting about the whole line of Plantation rums, and this one as well, is even though we talk about all of these snickerdoodle and all these sweet flavors, these are not overly sweet in a way that's cloying or would keep them from, let's say, pairing with a cigar, for example. It's not it's not an overwhelming sweetness. It's just
not
a very
sweet like a liqueur kind of sweet.
Right. Thank you. That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
I think you'll find some rums out there that can be a little bit over the top in the sweetness. So we spoke earlier about dosage, and that is the sucre toast that we use in some of our spirits, and we're definitely using it in most of the Plantation line in that one. But it is a super small amount. It's not there to mask anything. It's there just to round something out, just to punctuate the spirit and say, now it's ready. So, and to put it in perspective, when we're adding the sucralose to it, if you were to take a cup of coffee and take 1 cube of sugar and cut it into 16 pieces and like that 1/16th, drop it in, that's the influence it's going to have.
Right.
It's not there to dominate the spirit. It's not there to mask a bad spirit. It's there to complete it.
This is absolutely delicious. And is this easy enough to find at retail?
This one, yeah, everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. So
Specs,
it's the 20th. Yeah.
Most of your better independents, for sure. Yeah.
Ian, we
What's the price point on that particular bottle?
$45 to $55. Yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes, you know.
and well worth it. I can tell you that.
So good price to quality index on
Well,
that.
yes, absolutely. Even though it's a notch higher than some of the other ones that we've sampled here and are talking about it, I would still put the price to quality above a 5 on this. It would not surprise me to be in the $55 to $65 range for that. That's just a very, very strong rum.
This one, this is the Churchill rum. When you have that long cigar that's going to be smoking it for a while, and you want to refresh the palate.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and do a little cognac and finally tell you about why people who drink are more reliable and more likely to show up for work than people who don't. That info is coming up.
I'm intrigued.
And you are listening to Smokin' and Toastin', brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. We'll be right back.
So I'm sitting here.
So I say we'll be right back.
So I'm sitting here and I
on
keep
cue,
watching
chirp,
all
chirp.
these little lizards running across the yard here. They're little gray lizards with red heads.
I love it. Gray lizards with
Getting in touch with nature.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can snap a picture of this guy here.
We were touching a little bit of nature here with this Hemperor ourselves.
Yes, we certainly were. That's great.
Consistency is almost like Jello.
Yeah.
You try to shake it around a little
On the beer?
bit? Yeah,
No, it's thick. It's a thick little brew.
It's weird. 'Cause I've never seen a beer that translucent can be that.
This is
No,
just...
look! Oh my goodness!
There's your lizard. That's great.
There's a whole bunch of them around here. I don't know if they're gathering to eat me, but they're kind of cute.
They are. They're like one's in there, the other's gonna cook. Hey
they're-
Bob, we're gonna eat like kings. Look at this.
The scale's a little hard to see. It's like 4 foot long.
Yeah.
No, not really.
They're all
It's only
gathering.
about that big, really.
They're all gathering and saying to themselves, "Just wait, he may fall asleep.
Right? Wonder what that guy tastes like.
He may fall asleep."
I don't want you to feel bad though, but if this goes this way, this can get more hits ever on this podcast.
Yes.
This thing's going viral.
Right?
Did you hear about the
Man, we
cigar
talk about all kinds of stuff on this podcast. Koalas and
and being eaten by lizards?
This terrible tragedy brought to you by
had
Plantation Rum.
beaver,
Yeah.
milking beavers and all kinds of stuff going on.
The beaver butt sweat. That's going to stick.
Beaver butt sweat.
I think you got to let me know when we're at the very end of the show because I'm going to move the camera over to the pool and just jump in.
Okay.
Ian, do you remember the sloths that can't fart? Or
Say it again.
the sloths that can't fart?
Oh, yes, the sloth. That's what it was.
That's
That
what we
was,
talked about.
That
Yeah.
was a Glenfiddich Dave thing.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Paradise. What did Roll the Dice
So
talk about?
Man, we have him on the show and you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had him.
That's why I call him. I call him Roll the Dice. You never know.
You never know. We had him and Mattias Horseman on at the same time, and that's like a comedy.
Very
duo.
nice guy. The one from Hendrix.
Yeah.
Super great.
Yeah,
guy.
he's a blast.
You were asking.
Absolutely.
You were asking about blending. I actually had the opportunity to blend some whiskey at the Glenfiddich Distillery, and it was a real treat.
Oh,
Going
wow.
into the blending
What a-
facilities, they have
Awesome.
like thousands of single malts, not just from them, but from just all over Scotland, and you just got to go in there and create your own. What a treat! It was awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Ian, I brought one more beer, but I think I'm going to save it for when you're back. It's I'm okay with
it's
a
that.
stout that I think you'll be excited about. So, all right.
What are we tasting in the next segment?
I think we're going to go cognac, right?
We're going to go cognac, and I'm going to sneak in one more rum, if that's okay.
Oh, yes, absolutely. All right. So do you want to
You're
start?
full of surprises. I'm sorry I'm not there for this.
Rum or cognac and then finish?
Yeah, let's put the lid on the rum and then move on.
All right. Sounds good. Here, we're ready to come back. Here we go.
On the beach in Hawaii.
On the beach in Hawaii with the Plantation 20th. That is sounding like a good time. Of course, Ian's entertaining lizards and all kinds of amphibious animals where he is. He is live in Florida and live via Skype on the show today. I have to say, once again, kudos to Johnny Whiteside and to Adam, who's on the Wheels of Steel on the show. There is Ian's lizard buddy. There we go. He's hanging out with you, Ian, waiting for you to fall asleep so he and his friends can come nibble on your ankles.
This
don't do that.
segment will be brought to us by this.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm not sure.
My head
I'm not sure what you're holding there, but
It was interesting. I bought a cigar. This is a Nica Habana cigars, and the gentleman came in and asked. He said, "You're going to smoke this right now?" I said, "No, I'm going to save it till later." So he puts it in a bag, and he puts it in a bag with some of the natural tobacco leaves.
nice.
I guess to help keep the humidity correct on the cigar while it's in travel. But pardon me, it's very nice. All these little cigar places around here, they're all just family owned. You know, most of them say family owned since, and there's generations of it, and they've been in Ybor City since forever.
That's very cool. You should do like
So
you
we're
see
going
them
to try
do,
our next offering.
You should do like that. You see them doing some of the ads in like the magazines for cigars and stuff, where they've got the big tobacco leaf and they just light it on fire and they're just smelling the aroma of the burning leaf. No, I don't really want you to try that. I'm scared you'll burn your friend's house down.
Or his beard off.
I'm outside. It's okay.
Famous last words of Ian. I'm outside. It's okay. So this segment may not necessarily serve as proof of this, but according to a new study, non-drinkers are more likely to miss work than moderate drinkers, according to the study. If you think heavy drinkers are more likely to miss days of work, you are wrong. Teetotalers are just as likely to call in sick as those who consume heavier amounts of alcohol. This is according to a new report. They surveyed more than 47,000 people in Europe for this study. And the questionnaire asked the participants about their alcohol use and the number of sick days that they reported over a course of 4 to 7 years. After analyzing the results, they were able to identify 5 categories of drinkers, ranging from people who don't drink to those who did moderately to those who drank more heavily. Moderate drinkers who were women had 1 to 11 units of alcohol a week, while moderate drinkers who were men, I love this difference here, had 1 to 34 units weekly. Heavy drinkers had more than 11 for women and more than 34 for men. In the UK, a unit is approximately 8 grams of alcohol. So a standard glass of wine is about 2 units, and a beer is about like 1 3/4 units. So anyway, the study found that both abstainers and heavy drinkers had a high risk of sickness abstinence, but moderate drinkers were the guys that were basically there for work. So I think it's a pretty interesting study, and the fact that the heavy drinkers were no more likely to miss work than the teetotalers, and the moderate drinkers were the people who were most reliable in the study. I find that pretty fascinating. Again. And yeah, that's right. They got to go to work, so they have money to buy their alcohol. Although, you know, the plantation rums are very affordable, which brings it all back.
Brings it all back around.
Yes.
You ever been around a hungover European? I'd stay home from that work also.
Yes, I would too. That's a very good point. So you had one more rum you wanted to try.
Yeah. So we showed you the Jamaican 2002. This is another one of the vintages that we still have available for a short time. The Saint Lucia 2005.
Now, I don't know much about Santa Lucia rums.
You know what? This guy. It was a one-shot deal for us. In fact, the people who are producing it, the distillery that produces it, is no longer sourcing out rum to anybody else. So this is a last-shot deal. So I'm learning about St. Lucia myself for the first time. So, funky, but not in a Jamaica kind of funky way. It's completely different. It's got some fruitiness on the nose, dried fruit, almost like baked fruit. But there is a little bit of a rancid quality to it. Get like a bottle of vermouth, maybe sat out one day too long. There's some definite rancio to it that it's not unpleasant. But it's definitely there.
Right. It's got a fermented smell to it a little bit on the nose. But something that, like you said, it's not unpleasant, but it's something that you didn't necessarily notice in the other rums. Yeah.
I think we decided the word might also be overripe.
Overripe, yes. Some overripe fruit, or maybe, I don't know. It's just you're
to
right.
make it sound a little kinder.
It's a little bit of funk. You're right. It's a little bit of funk. But, we want the funk, so we got to have
that funk.
Yeah, that's right. So, So what's amazing to me is all of these different plantation rums that I've tasted today are all so different from each other. And yet they all have, they're all consistent enough to all be from the same, from the same place, but not from the same country of origin, but from the same rum maker. But this is maybe the most interesting of them all.
It is unique.
I don't know if it's
hard
my
to describe
favorite of the bunch, but I really do like it, and it's very unique. It's something that is a bit hard to put into words in terms of the flavors.
We're down to about 3 cases left in Texas, and we'll never see it again. If you like it, it's available. I know for a fact I saw it at Specs downtown on the shelf.
Now, see, I would want a bottle of this in my bar, especially knowing that it wouldn't be coming back around again.
Right.
Because this is just when you're in the mood for something that is, just that little bit different,
far off the beaten path. Yeah.
Yes, it definitely is. It's very tropical, I think, in terms of its flavor profile. But like you said, it's more of a dried fruit sort of a thing, and I'm just trying to. Is it mango? What am I getting in there? There's something in there that I'm trying to identify.
It's like a fortified wine or something like that maybe just by a matter of hours has turned a little bit. But it's delicious though. It's weird.
Okay, Ian, I'm very impressed. I must say, I'm very impressed.
So jealous.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to go wrong with plantation. It really is. Okay, so let's close by doing a little cognac.
Sure.
And cognac is really where the company began. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. As I said before, the Ferrand family made cognac for over 300 years, but the label Pierre Ferrand has only existed since 1989. This is one of our latest releases. We've always done a reserve cognac, tasting age of 20 years. I don't quite say average 20 years old. There is an art to blending, and that's cognac across the board. That's not just a Pierre Ferrand thing. Cognac has a lot of strict guidelines, and we use 2 kinds of cellars. They're going to be dry cellars and humid cellars, and they're going to produce different kinds of spirits. Dry cellar is going to be very forward, very a little stronger spirits, where the humid cellar is going to be a little bit more mellow and softer spirit, and that's just due to the moisture in the air. Okay? We're going to use, depending on what cognac we want to bottle, which one we want to produce, we're going to have different blend from humid and dry.
Greg, maybe this will make sense, maybe it won't, but unlike rums where I can tell you that I like almost all rums that I've tasted. Some I like much better than others, but there's very few that I just would taste and tell you, yeah, I don't care for that. With cognacs, I find they're very black or white for me. I either love them or I don't really care for them. Is that Does that make any sense to you? And do you have any idea why that might be?
It's hard to say because personally, I have not met a cognac that I didn't like.
Okay, well,
I like cognac, and you know, when I said we're 100% Grand Champagne, to put it in perspective, you know, Hennessy, Remy, Courvoisier, Martell make tremendous cognacs from top to bottom. But usually the only thing they're going to offer you that's 100% Grand Champagne is going to be the $1,000 bottle, the $2,000 bottle.
Right, the really expensive ones, yes.
So we're very proud of the fact that everything that we do is Grand Champagne. But as I said before, they make great cognacs. We're very proud of the ones that we make.
So when something is Grand Champagne, what does that mean exactly in layman's terms?
It means that all the grapes were grown in the Grand Champagne region of France.
Okay, so it's about the region, just
it's got nothing to do with champagne wine. The grapes that we use are going to be 95. It was 95%. I think we're down to 90% Uni Blanc, 10% Colombard.
Okay.
And there's like 6 or 7 different varietals that you can use to make cognac. The big 3 are going to be Uni Blanc, Folie Blanc, and Colombard. And we use mostly a combination of the Uni Blanc and some Colombard.
Are there more restrictions on what can and can't be used about Ian? I'm not sure what you're showing me there on camera. Can we switch to Ian's camera shot? What is up there, brother?
What
that
is
just
that?
flew onto my glass.
I hope you have another glass.
Go inside. Lizards, flying bugs, run.
I'm sorry, we were talking cognac, and suddenly I looked up and saw
Sorry
a monster.
about that. I'm being attacked by...
Yes.
That was a gross bug, and I'm from Houston, Texas, okay? I know gross bugs.
So we were talking cognac, and you were.
I do want to back up though, because
yeah.
I didn't quite explain the whole Grand Champagne thing. So when we say Grand Champagne, it is a reference to the amount of chalk and limestone in the soil, because we have a higher concentration of chalk and limestone, more nutrients, more minerals, maintains moisture better. We're just going to grow better fruit. So you have Grand Champagne, Petit Champagne, Bordeaux, Fimbois, Bonbois, Bois Ordinaire. And that's the 6 regions. The further you get out from Grand Champagne, the less limestone and chalk. And so, in turn, you're just going to grow the best quality of fruit with more chalk and limestone.
Is that something that you knew before you worked for Maison Ferrand?
A little bit. I worked for a distributor here for 10 years, so I knew spirits, but not quite as didn't know the gospel back and forth like I do now. So.
That's got to be a really fascinating job to have. So
it is.
So let's do some sampling here. Right. Let's try a little cognac.
This one is the Reserve Double Cask. This one, it's a spin-off. I should say it's a new variation of our old Reserve, where we took the exact same cognac and aged it for 1 more year in Banyuls barrels.
What does that mean?
You know what? I asked the exact same thing when they first told me about it. I didn't know either. Banyuls is a French dessert wine, very rich, very fortified, if you will. And so just that extra year inside that Banyuls barrel punctuates the cognac with some subtle sweetness. 84.6 proof, that's slightly higher than typical 80 proof, and that's just to give a little extra mouthfeel. Wow. It's my favorite thing that we do right now.
Ian, I can tell you, on first sip here, I am craving a cigar big time. This
cognac goes well with cigars.
This just feels like it would be perfect with an AJ Fernandez.
One of the things, and I don't know that much about cognac.
Yeah.
But I keep a bottle of cognac at the house, and I use it to clean my pipes, actually. My smoking pipes.
Now, which brand are you using as a cleaner?
The one I have is Decatur. And it's an XO, and it's a pretty good tasting cognac. And what's nice about it is, after you're done cleaning your pipes, while I'm smoking a cigar, I drink the cognac. It's like my own little thing that I do from time to time, and it works great.
Well, I'm just going to say, Ian, I believe that if you were in possession of a bottle of the, how do you say that with the 1 ER?
First.
So that just means first.
First cru de cognac means it's just the best region.
Okay.
Best
if you were in possession of this bottle, you would not be cleaning your pipes with it, my friend.
Nice.
Yeah, I think you'd be saving and reserving this.
Saving and reserving it for that.
I gotta tell you,
just for
this is-
drinking. Yes.
There's a metaphor joke in there somewhere.
Yes.
I'm digging deep, and I haven't found it yet. But give me about 2 more minutes, and I'm
This
gonna have a
is
great
the
pipe
show
cleaning
where
joke.
we talked about milking, beavers.
We've milked beavers. We're cleaning pipes.
Yeah, there's something going on here.
We're out of control.
Yes, this is really, really good, and it is not something that it isn't sort of off-putting in that sort of this is good, but I only want a little way. This is like, oh yes, I'll be drinking this and wanting another glass.
And we got a
You
full
know?
line. We have the 1840, which is a 90 proof one, which we created for classic cocktails. That's the youngest one. We have our flagship Pierre Ferrand is the Ombre, the one I left you. And we have a Stella Sandange, which is a selection of the Angels, 30 years old. And for a little while longer, we're phasing some of our older cognacs out to do some really, really super cool stuff coming up soon. We have the Abel, which is 40 to 45 years old. And if you can, it's still about $350. Get it while you can at specs, because it's phenomenal cognac, one of my all-time favorites. And the Ancestral, which is 60 to 70 years old. That one is going to be around for a little bit while longer, but not much longer.
So, what is your most expensive cognac?
We do have the rare vintages. Like I think one of my favorites is the 1972 vintage. It went for about $1,500.
So this is where
in Texas.
Yeah, right. This is where your company has the really super high end things available, right?
I'm sorry, what?
So the cognac would be where your company has some of your most high end stuff available, correct? In terms of the
as
biggest
far as age and
priciest,
price,
yeah,
yes,
age
for
and,
sure.
Right, yeah, sure.
Yeah, because
Sure.
some of the cognacs that we're working with have been in the cellars for quite a long time.
What I love about this, though, is this really has the same feel to me as some of the more expensive cognacs that I have had and tried. And it's not like I'm A-Bing them, but this, if you were to have poured this for me and, described it as a much more expensive bottle, because what does this one retail for?
$65, $70.
Yeah. So if you described this as being in the $100 range, I wouldn't have batted an eye. So
Again, don't give my friends in France any ideas.
no, okay, all right. Perfect at 65 to 70. No, but I mean, it's really good. One of the things I think your whole line has got going for it is the fact that you make some extremely affordable spirits that come off as tasting a lot more expensive than they are.
I just almost fell out of my chair because I just remembered that I forgot something. Oh,
Yeah?
I could kill myself for this.
What did you forget?
It's one of Christopher Hart's favorite things that we do. We call it the Renegade Barrel. And we just finished up Renegade Barrel number 1, which was bottled at 96 proof and finished for an extra year in Sauternes cask. And we're trying to track down Renegade Barrel number 2. It's somewhere in Houston's warehouse right now, but we're trying to find it. It's going to be the Pierre Ferrand cognac bottled at 94.6 proof, I believe. And the finish is a chestnut cask. And we can't even call it cognac because it's in a chestnut cask. We call it Eau de Vie de Vin.
Yeah, Chris Hart is one of those guys, like, he loves chasing barrels and casks. That is his passion.
He does. In fact, once he hears this
Andy's
podcast,
good at
I'm
it.
going to get a phone call saying, "So, are you saying it's here? It's here? Are you saying it's here?" So, yeah. But I'm sorry that I didn't bring it because it's not only a clever spirit, but we've got a clever story behind it. We have the bottle work has got some zebras on it, and I want to tell this story, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here. But Eli Ferrand the Eighth. Is the 8th generation Ferrand cognac maker, and and the most important one. He was handling Ferrand the cognac production when cognac itself just started to become a commercial hit. When it became widely respected as the finest spirit in the world. We found record of him having correspondence with some of the Hennessy family. We have correspondence with him with Gustave Eiffel, the man who built the Eiffel Tower. He was a real mover and shaker back in his day.
Right.
And he was a bit of a kook, like a lot of rich people. He was a bit of what's the word I'm looking for when you call it rich?
Well, I can answer this for you, because if you are broke and you're kind of weird, you're crazy. But if you're rich and you're kind of weird, you're eccentric.
Eccentric, that's
Yes.
the word I'm looking for, and you're absolutely right. So, he was a bit of a character, and he at one point he had a zoo with all kinds of exotic animals.
Oh,
and
of
he
course.
brought in a zebra to pull his carriage, and people were telling him, Eli, you can't do this. It's an untrained. He goes, don't tell me what I can't do. He's like, you don't
Yes,
understand.
yeah.
It's an untrainable animal.
It's an untrainable.
He tried, and but it was funny. He kept the zebra in the zoo, and we don't know if he ever got to pull that carriage or not. But when the AOC and cognac told us that we could not bottle cognac, our agent inside saw Tarn casks, and we found out that we could. We put a zebra on the label saying,
perfect.
"Don't tell us what we can't
No,
do."
Don't tell us what we can't do. That's right.
With respect.
Well, that's a great story, and a great story to close the show on. Greg, I really want to thank you for being
Thank you.
on. You obviously have a lot more stories and a lot more spirit, so we should definitely have you back on. And I do feel a little bad not being able to share these rums with Ian, so we definitely need to have you back on the show again soon.
Well, anytime I say, if you ever get Jeremiah and roll the dice back in here, bring it. We'll bring it on. It'll be a battle royale.
So let me just say, this is our 92nd show. On show number 100, we are planning to have to rent a big room and invite everyone who's ever been on the show
You count
to
me
be
in.
on for the same show. And we'll have, beers and spirits and cigars, the whole bit. And it'll just kind of be a free-for-all show. We're really think it might make for some interesting listening.
I would love to be a part of that. You can count me in.
Okay, good. So we'll get you with the details on that, and it should be great fun. Of course, we'll have Jeremiah there and our friend, our mutual friend Chris Hart as well. So thank you so much again for being on the show. The spirits were fantastic, and we are big fans. Now, we have lost our link to Ian, I can tell from the screen being blank, which is really kind of a bummer because he had told me earlier that he was going to end the show by jumping in the pool. And I was so excited that that's the way we were going to polish off the show. So if you are watching this on YouTube, we might have gone back and gotten footage of Ian jumping into the pool and spliced it in electronically to do this. But for those of you on Facebook Live, sorry to disappoint. But we do thank you very much for listening. Smoking and Toasting is brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. My name is Cruz. Thank you to Adam, our producer, to John Whiteside, our technical director, to Ian, my friend who is in Florida and maybe being eaten by lizards right now. We don't know
That's what I
because
was thinking. The lizards got him.
we've lost our video link. But to all of you for listening, thank you. And Greg, thanks for being on the show, and cheers.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Have a great week, folks.
That was fun. Thank you so
Wow,
much.
fun.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a little weird not having Ian here. It's always a little more normal with him in studio. But
And I was watching the clock, but I know I
yeah,
took it too long.
we had lots of over segments, but it's all good.
So how does that work? I know, you have the studio here, but I know with Chris, he's got time constraints because he's renting the studio, I believe.
Yeah, I own this, so that makes it easy. But we started out. The show started out being on radio.